So, I've seen it, have my hair done as Don Corleone. What did I think?
You don't have to go while you got ammo.
So, The Godfather Part III is directed by Francis Ford Coppola and yet again stars Al Pacino. So this is set about 21 years after the second one, and it was made 16 years after it. Now, The Godfather Part III is really hated by a lot of people. Mainly because they say it doesn't live up to the first two. So, do I think that it lives up to the first two? No. Do I hate it? No. Do I think it's bad? No. I actually do quite like it. I mean, it's not great like the first two. It has quite a few flaws, which is unfortunate because this could have been the best trilogy ever. But still, there is stuff to like. I think I'll start with the positives, because there is a lot to say. For one, I do like Al Pacino's performance. I mean, hell, he's my favorite actor. There is one problem with his performance, which I'll get to in a second, but overall he does give a pretty good performance. The dialogue for this movie is great. The scenes between just a couple characters when they're talking with each other, those are my favorite parts. And while there isn't as much character development as in the first two, the character development is still there. The cinematography is terrific, and the movie is pretty well directed. I mean, The Godfather Part II, being my favorite movie of all time, is also my favorite directed movie of all time, so it's not that good, but it's still well directed. The score, yet again, not as good as before, but still pretty good. Best part of this movie, Andy Garcia. Just in terms of how his character is, and in terms of how great his performance is. Supposedly they were meant to make Godfather Part 4 all about Andy Garcia. I would have been interested in seeing that. But like I said, this movie does have quite a few flaws. Probably the one that's said the most is Sofia Coppola. Yeah, her performance is pretty bad. I mean, she just seems so stiff all the time, and she doesn't deliver her lines properly. She feels really miscast in the role. Also, the movie is not a standalone movie. You cannot understand this movie without seeing the first two. Which is unfortunate, because you could understand The Godfather Part 2 without seeing the first one, and obviously you could understand the first one without seeing the others, so that is kind of upsetting. But probably its biggest problem is the plot. The plot is a mess. It just goes all over the place, and you don't really understand how it all fits together. The pacing's all over the place. It's just really poor. Again, unfortunate because the first two did that perfectly. Oh yeah, and the one thing that I didn't like about Al Pacino's performance is pretty big. It's that he doesn't feel like Michael Corleone. I mean, Al Pacino can give a good performance as any character, which is why he does here, but he doesn't feel like Michael Corleone. And one last problem with it, the ending. The last 2 minutes of the movie. I understand that's quite brief, but it's just a really bad ending. I mean, without spoiling anything, just in case you haven't seen this movie and you want to, the whole Godfather trilogy was building to something big. It was all this development and stuff, and then it happens like that. And it just doesn't have any weight. It just happens out of nowhere. I don't want to say what happens, but what does happen just happens out of nowhere, and it's really annoying that happens just like that. Still though, like I said, this is still a movie I quite like. It is better than some other movies I've seen before. It's not the best. It's pretty far from the best, actually, but it's still a good movie. I don't think it deserves the hate that it always gets. It's flawed, but it does have good things about it. So with that said, I'm going to give The Godfather Part 3 a 7.5 out of 10. Not great, but still good. And again, if they ever had made that Godfather Part 4, which by the way came very close to being made, I would have been interested in it. So that's all I have to say for this video. I'm probably going to have to get this back to how it was. So if you like this video, please subscribe and join the team.